Ever get that feeling like your brain is just crammed with to-do lists, and then
Yeah.
you see that blinking cursor on your phone or laptop, and it's like it knows you should be doing something more profound?
Totally, like you're letting the ancient philosophers down or something.
Exactly. So today we are ditching the to-do list and diving into some
We're
stoicism.
talking journaling prompts, but not just any prompts.
Oh no, these are stoic journaling prompts.
Powerful stuff. It's like having a direct line to some of history's most resilient minds.
I love that. So instead of, did I remember to buy oat milk, it's, what would Marcus Aurelius do?
Well, maybe not that directly, but you get the idea.
Hmm.
We're using these prompts as a way to tap into that ancient wisdom, for a better life today.
Okay, so less toga, more like stoicism for the modern world.
Exactly. And we're starting our deep dive today with self-reflection. But this isn't just your average Dear Diary stuff.
No.
This is about looking for patterns in how we react to things. It's like Stoic science.
Stoic science. I'm into it.
Right. Because at its core, Stoicism says, look, we can't always control what happens to us.
Stuff happens.
Exactly. But it's our response to that stuff that we can control. That's where our power is.
So it's less about what life throws at us, more about how we catch it.
Perfectly put. So,
Right.
take that frustrating meeting you had this week.
Ooh, don't remind me.
Instead of just thinking, ugh, bad day, what if we saw it as data?
Data. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right, like this is valuable information about what pushes our buttons, what we need to work on.
I like where you're going with this. And actually, prompt number 2 from this journaling exercise jumps right into this. It asks about finding joy in the everyday.
Yes. And I love this one because it's not about those big splashy moments.
It's like, I won the lottery kind of joy.
Exactly. It's about those little things that make even a normal day feel good.
That cup of coffee just hits different sometimes.
Precisely. But here's the key. It's not enough to just notice those moments. The Stoics would say, okay, how do we create more of them? Like, what if cultivating happiness was a practice, not just luck?
Okay, I am so on board with this. And speaking of things I'm on board with, prompt number 6 really resonated with me.
Oh, tell me about it.
So it asks you to think about someone who you think embodies strength.
And I think this one is so clever because instead of just saying, I wish I was stronger, which, let's be real, is kind of vague and not super helpful,
For sure.
it gives you a real-life model to study. Like,
Mhm.
okay, who comes to mind when you think strong person?
Well, right now I'm thinking Michelle Obama. She always seems so incredibly resilient under pressure.
Perfect example. So instead of this abstract idea of strength, it's like, what would Michelle Obama do?
I love that. Suddenly it's not this impossible thing. It's like, oh, there are actual footsteps to follow.
And that's what makes these prompts so powerful. They take these big philosophical ideas and make them tangible, actionable. It's like having a personal Stoic coach in your pocket. Speaking of learning from the best, let's talk about emotional resilience. I have to admit, when I first heard we were diving into this, I thought, really? Emotional resilience and Stoicism in the same sentence?
Yeah, it does seem a little counterintuitive, right? Like, isn't Stoicism all about being, well, stoic?
Exactly. Like just keeping a stiff upper lip no matter what life throws at you.
Right. Not exactly the recipe for an emotional roller coaster.
And yet, that's what surprised me about this section. Because it's not about not feeling things, it's about choosing how we respond to those feelings.
Okay, so let's suck it up. More, I don't know, what's a good analogy? It's like a surfer riding a wave. They don't try to stop the ocean, they learn how to navigate it.
Yes. Perfect analogy. Because that's what these prompts help us do, but with our emotional landscape. Like take prompt number 1, for example.
Okay, what does prompt number 1 say?
It asks us to think about a recent disappointment. But instead of just dwelling on the bummer part, it's like, okay, how could you have responded to this differently?
Oh, that's interesting. So it's almost like treating disappointment as a skill to practice.
I love that. Because that's exactly how the Stoics saw it. Every time we face disappointment, we have this choice point. We can either let it derail us, or we can use it as an opportunity to strengthen our resilience.
It's not about being immune to disappointment. It's about knowing it's coming and having a game plan.
Exactly. And speaking of game plans for a good life, prompt number 7 in this section is surprisingly modern. It's all about gratitude.
Wait, like gratitude journals? That's so funny because those are like everywhere right now.
Right. It's fascinating how this ancient wisdom keeps lining up with modern science. Turns out the Stoics were onto something centuries ago.
They probably didn't even have bullet journals back then.
Probably not. But here's the thing about this gratitude prompt.
Hmm.
It goes beyond just feeling grateful. It asks us to really dig into the why. What are we thankful for today in this very moment?
It's like a perspective shift, right?
Yeah,
Instead of
right.
focusing on what we're lacking, we're appreciating what we do have.
Precisely. And that shift in perspective is key to another core Stoic theme, which may sound a bit intimidating at first: virtue.
Virtue. Okay, so less about being a goody two-shoes, more about, I don't know, living in alignment with our values.
You got it. And this is where I think some people get tripped up on Stoicism. They think it's about following all these rigid rules,
Yeah, I can see that.
but I think these prompts keep it real.
Okay, so show me what you mean. What stood out to you in the virtue section? Okay, so we've got these values, we're working on our emotional resilience, but how do we actually live this stuff, especially in a world that feels, I don't know, kind of the opposite of Stoic?
Right, like trying to be mindful when you're surrounded by like a million distractions.
Exactly.
Well, that's where the next section comes in: mindfulness and presence. And I'll be honest, even just reading these prompts made me want to like put my phone down and go stare at a tree or something.
No judgment, my screen time is probably at an all-time high right now. Okay, so how do these ancient philosophers help us deal with modern distractions?
It's funny, it's like they knew we'd be battling a million notifications for our attention.
Mm.
Because these prompts aren't about like going on a silent retreat. They're about finding stillness and focus amidst the chaos of daily life.
So less about escaping the chaos and more about like learning to exist within it.
Yes, it's like building up those mental focus muscles so we're not so easily pulled in a million directions.
Well, I need to hit the gym for my focus muscles for sure.
Right, we all do. And I think prompt number 2 in this section is so relatable. It's like it's asking, when was the last time you were truly present during a conversation? And I don't mean like half listening while also mentally planning your grocery list.
Oof, guilty as charged. I've been on the receiving end of those "are you even listening to me" moments.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
Right. And I think that's what's so important here. It's not just about some internal state of Zen. It's about the quality of our interactions, our relationships. Being present makes us better friends, partners, colleagues.
So it's like Stoicism for better relationships. I like that.
Right. And speaking of things I think the Stoics would have opinions on, prompt number 7 in this section, it's a simple question: how do you spend your free time? But through a Stoic lens, it becomes kind of a gut check. Are we choosing activities that align with our values that lead to growth, or are we just kind of, on autopilot?
I have a feeling Seneca would not be down with endless Instagram scrolling.
Probably not. Which brings us to our final section today: growth and improvement. Because Stoicism isn't about achieving some perfect state of Stoicism. It's a process, a continuous journey.
Yes, it's like that quote, "The obstacle is the way." Our mistakes aren't failures, they're data points. They're how we learn and grow.
Exactly. And I love how prompt number 3 in this section highlights that. It's about identifying our strengths, but not in a like braggy way. It's more about honest self-assessment so we can better understand how we can contribute to the world.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just self-improvement for our benefit, but so we can use those strengths to help others.
Exactly. It's the Stoic way. And finally, I want to touch on prompt number 10. This one is about analyzing our successes, not just celebrating the win, but figuring out how we achieved it so we can, like, replicate that success in other areas of our lives.
It's like we're reverse engineering our good decisions. So instead of just hoping for the best next time, we're learning from our experiences.
Exactly. It's about extracting wisdom from every experience
Mm.
and using that wisdom to, as you said, level up. And on that note, I'm curious, after this deep dive, what's one question you would ask a Stoic philosopher if you had the chance? What's really sticking with you?
Wow, that is a great question. And you know what? I think that's the perfect note to leave our listeners on as well. What wisdom resonated with you? What will you carry with you from this deep dive into Stoicism? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those notebooks handy.